Welcome to our Daily Portion with WIT Ministries. My name is Matt Russell, and I'm the Ministry Director at WIT Ministries. For more information about our ministry, you can go to our website at pursuitfortruth.com. That is pursuitfortruth, all spelled out.com. We'd also like to thank you for the subscribes and the shares and the likes that you've given to the podcast, and we appreciate all your comments. We'd love to keep that conversation going. Today's portion is Leviticus 6, the guilt offering. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, when a person sins and acts unfaithfully against the Lord and deceives the companion in regard to a deposit or a security entrusted to him, or through robbery, or if he is extorted from his companion, or has found that what was lost and lied about and sworn falsely, so that he sins in regard to any of the things a man may do, then it shall be when he sins and becomes guilty that he shall restore what he took by robbery and what he got by extortion, or the deposit which was entrusted to him, or the lost thing which he found, or anything about which he swore falsely. He shall make restitution for it in full and add to it 1/5 more. He shall give to the one in whom it belongs on the day he presents his guilt offering. Then he shall bring to the priest his guilt offering to the Lord, a ram without defect from the flock, according to the valuation for a guilt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord, and he will be forgiven for any one of the things which he may have done to incur guilt. The priest's part in the offerings. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command Aaron and the sons, saying, this is the law for the burnt offerings. The burnt offering itself shall remain in the hearth on the altar all night until the morning, and the fire on the altar is to be kept burning on it. The priest is to put on his linen robe, and he shall put on undergarments next to his flesh, and he shall take up the ashes to which the fire reduces the burnt offering on the altar, and place them beside the altar. Then he shall take off his garments and put on other garments, and carry the ashes outside the camp to a clean place. The fire on the altar shall be kept burning on it. It shall not go out, but the priest shall burn wood on it every morning, and he shall lay out the burnt offering on it, and offer up in smoke the fat portions of the peace offerings on it. Fire shall be kept burning continually on the altar. It is not to go out. Now this is the law of the grain offering. The sons of Aaron shall present it before the Lord in front of the altar. Then one of them shall lift up from it a handful of the fine flour of the grain offering, with its oil and all the incense that is on the grain offering, and he shall offer it up in smoke on the altar, a soothing aroma, as its memorial offering to the Lord. What is left of it, Aaron and his sons are to eat. It shall be eaten as unleavened cakes in a holy place. They are to eat it in the court of the tent of meeting. It shall not be baked with leaven. I have given it as their share from my offerings by fire. It is most holy, like the sin offering and the guilt offering. Every male among the sons of Aaron may eat it. It is a permanent ordinance throughout your generations, from the offerings by fire to the Lord. Whoever touches them will become consecrated. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, this is the offering which Aaron and his sons are to present to the Lord on the day when he is anointed. The 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour as a regular grain offering, half of it in the morning and half of it in the evening. It shall be prepared with oil on a griddle. When it is well stirred, you shall bring it. You shall present the grain offering in baked pieces as a soothing aroma to the Lord. The anointed priest who will be in his place among his sons shall offer it. By a permanent ordinance, it shall be entirely offered up in smoke to the Lord. So every grain offering of the priest shall be burnt entirely. It shall not be eaten. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the law of the sin offering. In the place where the burnt offering is slain, the sin offering shall be slain before the Lord. It is most holy. The priest who offers it for a sin shall eat it. It shall be eaten in a holy place in the court of the tent of meeting. Anyone who touches its flesh will become consecrated, and when any of its blood splashes on a garment in a holy place, you shall wash what is splashed on. Also the earthenware vessel in which it was boiled shall be broken, and if it was boiled in a bronze vessel, then it shall be scoured and rinsed in water. Every male among the priests may eat of it. It is most holy. But no sin offering of which any of the blood is brought into the tent of meeting to make atonement in the holy place shall be eaten. It shall be burned with fire. So in discussing the responsibilities that the Levites, the priests, have in the offerings, they're to take them in, and of course they're to offer up what is to be offered up. The sin offering, the guilt offering, the peace offerings, the first fruit offerings, all those things. Now there's specific rules to each one, because some of them have to be burnt completely and cannot then be consumed. But some of them are burnt, and then a portion of it is set aside for the consumption of the priest. That is set apart. It never comes out from the the tent or the Holy of Holies. It goes back to a chamber of the altar room. There's a chamber at the back that they will take that. In the temple, they built an entire room that he required. In the tabernacle, they set up a chamber. So anything that is to be stored up for the priest will go back to that corner. So when the offerings come in, depending on what type of an offering it is, some of it is to be burnt completely, and some of it is to be consumed by the Levites after a certain portion has been offered up and burnt completely. But with those two distinctions, the ashes, so once something is burnt all the way down and you take all the remaining portion of the ashes and stuff that it has been converted to, you take it, they have to change their clothing because what they're wearing is holy. And they're about to take these offerings outside of the holy place. So they have to change their clothes so that those clothes remain inside. They're not going to be touched by anything unclean outside the temple or outside the holy place. So they change clothes, then they take those ashes and they take them outside the camp and dump them in a certain place that they set aside to dump the ashes. That's where they bring the burning or burnt ashes of their sacrifice. Then you have the part where it says that the carcass, once it gets to the carcass and everything's burnt up, but it's just that remaining part, it's not ashes. Depending on what type of sacrifice it is, it may be a full carcass with meat on it and everything. But those carcasses, whether it's with the meat or without, are all to go out to that same valley, dumped in the same valley to be burnt up completely outside the gate. So, whatever God has established, the enemy wants to create or twist and pervert to create a counterfeit. Outside the gate of Jerusalem, there is a place that is known as the Valley of Hinnom. Hinnom. And so with that valley, it's also called Topheth. That valley is where the people who had sacrificed their children to Molech. Molech was a demon, a principality, but Molech is a principality who says, you offer up to me, bring me your children, and I will grant you prosperity in your life. You will have a better quality of life. So you sacrifice your children to me, and I will return to you quality of life. That's the promise for Molech. Well, they would take those sacrifices out to the valley of death, to the valley of Hinnom, Topheth, and they would throw them into that. But it reaches a point where what started out as just them taking their children ended up being anyone that they were killing. They would take a life and throw them into the valley as an offering for better quality for themselves. Because see, lust is never satisfied. And so what starts with, I want a prosperous life. I'm going to offer you my children, and then I have no more children. I'm going to offer you my wife. I'm going to offer you my brother. I'm going to offer you my neighbor. I'm just going to start bringing people because as I offer them up to you, your promise is to come to me and bring prosperity. Well, the enemy is full of false promises. But those burnt offerings that God had were offered up for sin. The burnt offering that Molech was the target for was an offering of sin. And today, the argument that we have towards we understand the argument for abortion is to if someone was raped or incest or something along those lines, the percentage of that is so low. You're talking about such a small number of people actually having that as the case, that they were aborting a baby, a living being that God created, They're aborting a baby for the fact that it was rape or incest. So it doesn't bring bad feelings or back on the woman, which, I can understand where they're coming from on that one. But God still made that baby. God didn't cause the rape. But either way, that baby, God receives them. God receives them in heaven. But when the other reason that they put behind it is because if the mother's medical situation is such dire life or death kind of thing, that if she does not abort the baby, it'll probably cost her her life, and then they'll both die. And I can understand that. I can see the justification and kind of going, okay, but the percentage of that, again, is just a little bit higher than the incest and the rape. These are such small numbers, nowhere near the actual number of abortions that are taking place. Majority of the abortions that are taking place, the majority, and a not even close, 95+%. It is more than that. The largest number of abortions are women who say, and this is one of their arguments, I'm just not ready to have a baby, and it will affect the quality of my life. I'm going to school. I'm just starting a job. I'm trying to work ahead or move up within my corporation. I'm trying to better myself. I don't have time for a baby. I don't have money for a baby. Well, then don't have sex. But that's a whole nother subject. If you can't handle the responsibility, then don't partake in the action that causes it. But they try to take every precaution they can, and then they've stopped. They've just stopped giving up on all these precautions, because all they're doing is they're going to try to have sex and then use an abortion as a form of birth control. And that is, again, for quality of life. That's the same thing that they were doing them when they were sacrificing their children to Molech, is because of the promise of a better quality of life. There's no difference. There's no difference between those two things. Well, but they're taking their child and they're killing it and putting it on the altar, and so those are living children that are born, that they're offering up and shedding the blood and then putting their bodies on fire to burn them up. However, the number one way that they perform abortions is through saline, that they pump the body full of saline and it burns from the inside out. They are burning up the child inside the womb. Or they're chopping it to bits, which is the same thing you do before you lay it on an altar to burn it up. It's the same thing. So, God and his way is the perfect way that we should follow. And we don't have to offer up any living sacrifices anymore, because Jesus did that. He replaced the living sacrifices. That is one of the things that God said is a perpetual statute that should be for the whole time of Aaron's sons' generations, which ends at Jesus. So that's no more. The live sacrifices are no more. But the offerings that we're supposed to bring, it's not so that God will give us a better quality of life. It's so that there can be a better quality to his temple, a better quality to the ministering that's going on, to improving, as we put in nonprofit terms, the program. What is being done by the ministry? Those offerings come in to have better programs to help reach other people, because the programs don't pay for themselves. So bringing it in so that there would be food in the storehouse or in that back section, the chamber at the back of the holy place, that's where the priest's food goes. But it also, the food is the knowledge of the word that is being given to us. So as long as the priest can eat, who can't go out and make their own living, and as long as through the consumption of what they have, they're able to bring a word. So not only is the building itself, the temple, or the ministry itself, the program that it produces, but also the quality of the food that is being given. Those three things are what he's showing in the importance. That's the part that the priest is supposed to take care of. And there's stuff that they're not supposed to touch, and there's stuff that they are. And they have to stick with the plan and be obedient to what God called them to do. So, Father, thank you that you provide. Thank you that you give us everything. And Father, you are the one who gives a better quality of life. No one gives a better quality of life than you. Does not mean that when we follow you, that all of a sudden our life will be easy. It doesn't mean that when we follow you that we will not face troubles. But what it means is that you are our provider. And we know that. You are our protector. And you promised that. And we're so thankful for that. And we give you thanks. We give you love and praise. In Jesus' name, amen.